Hi, cocodrilos. I hope you and yours are doing well. Cocodrilos, today I bring you an amazing book about the ABCs. Yes, it's funny. I love this book. Thank you to the author and illustrator for creating this beautiful masterpiece. Without further delays, let's read about the ABCs. Let's. This book is no ordinary ABC book. Alphabetical, written by Dan Barl, illustrated by Graham Ross. Alberto had an alligator, but he didn't have a bathing suit. Benoit had a bathing suit, but he didn't have a clarinet. Cara had a clarinet, but she didn't have a doggy bone. Dina had a doggy bone, but she didn't have an egg. Edward had an egg, but he didn't have a football. Frida had a football, but she didn't have a goldfish. Gwendolyn had a goldfish, but she didn't have a hammer. Hector had a hammer, but he didn't have an ice cream. Ina had an ice cream, but she didn't have a jewel. Yopile had a jewel, but she didn't have a kite. Khalil had a kite, but he didn't have a letter. Louise had a letter, but she didn't have a marshmallow. Mateo had a marshmallow, but he didn't have a necktie. Noah had a necktie, but he didn't have an oar. Orion had an oar, but he didn't have a paintbrush. Parker had a paintbrush, but she didn't have a quail. Queen had a quail, but she didn't have a ragdoll. Rohan had a ragdoll, but he didn't have a slipper. Sasha had a slipper, but he didn't have a toy train. Talia had a toy train, but she didn't have an umbrella. Omar had an umbrella, but she didn't have a base. Vladimir had a base, but he didn't have a water ski. Wallace had a water ski, but he didn't have a xylophone. Zena had a xylophone, but she didn't have a yoga mat. Yanni had a yoga mat, but he didn't have a Zamboni. Sarah had a Zamboni, but what she really wanted was a friend. So, Sarah gave the Zamboni to Yanni, and Yanni gave the yoga mat to Zena, and Zena gave the xylophone to Wallace, and Wallace gave the water ski to Vladimir, and Vladimir gave the base to Umar, and Umar gave the umbrella to Talia, and Talia gave the toy train to Sasha, and Sasha gave the slipper to Robin, and Robin gave the rag dog to Queen, and Queen gave the quail to Parker, and Parker gave the paintbrush to Orion, and Orion gave the oar to Noah, and Noah gave the necktie to Mateo, and Mateo gave the marshmallow to Luis, and Luis gave the letter to Khalil, and Khalil gave the kite to Joe Pio, and Joe Pio gave the jewel to Ina, and Ina gave the ice cream to Hector, and Hector gave the hammer to Gwendolyn, and Gwendolyn gave the goldfish to Frida, and Frida gave the football to Edward, and Edward gave the egg to Dina, and Dina gave the doggy bone to Cara, and Cara gave the clarinet to Benoit, And Benoit gave the bathing suit to Alberto, and Alberto gave the alligator to the zoo. Then he phoned Sarah and invited her over for a swim. The end. What a funny book about the alphabet and friends. Thank you to the illustrator and the writing for creating a wonderful masterpiece. Gracias. Cocodrilos and families, if you haven't done so, please subscribe, like, share, and if you want to, leave Miss Cruz a comment. Have a good day, cocodrilos. Hasta luego. Hasta luego.